Hi guys, I'm the Impaired Grappler and welcome to my podcast. Today is an audio only podcast because we had technical difficulties for the video, but the audio is still okay, so I thought you guys might enjoy it. So yeah, I interviewed Luke Beston from Beston Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in Newcastle. So yeah, we basically talk about memes, trolls, blue belts, his beginnings in martial arts, and like back in the day, traveling and going to Brazil, first time meeting the Gracies and all that. We talk about Kali and Jiu-Jitsu, sort of self-defense. We talk about martial versus art. We discuss sort of the lockdown and sort of the media and frustrations and stuff, and we talk about his philosophy for learning and all that sort of stuff, and his stretching protocol and any routine changes that Luke's had pre, post Rona kind of thing, and finding order out of chaos. So hope you guys enjoy. Sorry again for the audio only, but yes, at the end of the video I'll explain the exact technical difficulties for anyone interested. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy and we'll catch you later. Us. Alrighty guys, I'm the Impaired Grappler and welcome to my podcast. Today we have a very special guest, live from north of the border, from a more free place at the moment, especially with regards to jiu-jitsu and all that. So it's Luke Beston from Newcastle, from Beston Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in Newcastle, and I guess sort of a lot of sort of country New South Wales. He has a few affiliates and stuff. So yeah, welcome, man. So
thank you. First interview, so you have to bear with me. I've never been interviewed before, so.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Like, you know, we're very gentle here, very pro everyone.
Excellent.
Especially like, yeah, very pro troll, because you know even trolls have a heart. So if you can empathize for the troll, then you can, then you can start understanding a lot about the world. And so just starting
Absolutely.
on that. Just with regards to sort of meme craft and trolling, like for me, a meme can be one of the highest forms of communication, especially when done correctly. And you know, like comedy transcends borders and even generations. Like if I told you, if I mention the name Adam Boom, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I've never heard of that, sorry.
Adam Boom, the cricketer. You remember him from the 80s?
Is that the one that drank a lot? I'm not a sports person.
That's the answer, yes. Like you don't even follow cricket. You don't know anyone. And you know that guy drank a lot.
Yeah.
He had the record drinking number of tinnies. That to me is a meme. That one image, like you don't even know cricket, and that image is in your brain.
Gotcha.
So that just shows the power of it.
True, I see.
You know, there's other things
right.
which we won't talk about, sort of the Richard Gere kind of thing that went around, and that was pre-internet, VHS time. So it wasn't even easy to transform. So like nowadays with the internet, we've got like memes that go viral, and you know, with a lot of the anonymous accounts that have like been able to do research and find things and put things into a meme, and then it's like, wow, it's so powerful imagery. So like just wondering like your thoughts on that, and because you're like pretty, you know, you're pretty sort of well known in the jiu-jitsu community for you know, spreading some cool memes.
Yeah. So my whole philosophy is like every good troll or every good meme, there has to be like a shiny nugget of truth at the center. If there's no like little shiny nugget of truth that triggers the right people and amuses the right people, then you know it's not valid.
Yeah.
Okay. So talking about being anonymous, I've never been anonymous on the internet. Like even from the early days before social media, they had the forums and stuff. Always used my real name. So it's the other thing I'd say about that. So, and I don't know about well known. Like my Facebook like everything's private, I think, on my Facebook. I just do that for my friends like yourself and that, extended jiu-jitsu family. So, not looking to go viral and anything like that. Just, it's like the whole, there's the comedian, I've lost his name right now. He's the Andy Kaufman. It's like the only person who needs to find it funny is me. If I find it funny, then it's funny. I don't really care if anyone else likes it too much. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And what, like, because, we all respect all levels of jiu-jitsu, white belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, everything. Obviously not blue belt, but just tell me your thoughts on blue belts. And to me, it feels like blue belts running the joint at the moment. If you could...
Yep. So there's strength in numbers. So like I give blue belts a hard time on the internet, but I say that's because, if I picked on the white belts, that's not fair. The blue belts know me well enough to know that I'm only joking, but they're horrible and incompetent enough to deserve my hate and disgust, So, that's basically my idea on that. So, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Anytime I, ask a blue belt to help me teach something, it's a cluster. It's a disaster. So, I'm not sure whether I started at the chicken or the egg, but but they're always horrible. But I think everyone agrees that blue belts are horrible.
Well, it's kind of like it's just when we've all been there at the blue belt level, and it's where you go through those troughs and peaks and valleys, and it's like, I'm going awesome, and it's like, oh no, nothing. And I think that blue belt level is like really important for that. Like you go through the transition of being top dog in a white belt, no one really smashing you too hard to get in your blue belt. Now everyone coming after you. And then it's like, there's a lot of, I think getting through the blue belt stage, once you get past there and through all the trials and tribulations and like everyone smashing you because you've got a color, I think, it's kind of like an in-between phase of growth.
No, I've blocked out my blue belt days. There's a little bit of cognitive dissonance there. Yeah. So, but it was very, like, seriously, it was very different when I was a blue belt. Like when I was a blue belt, maybe the highest in the country was brown. Highest in the state was blue. And there was all these guys, like I won't name names, but they all went on to fight UFC and world champions and this and that. And it was me, as a blue belt, like not really, it could be mentioned in the same sentence. So it was surreal. Like when I first started, there was, it was like, there was only a few blue belts in the state. And I was like, wonder if one day I'll be able to be a blue belt. If I could be a blue belt, that'd be amazing. And then, and it was like, if I get the blue belt, not now, it's just like, okay, you hang around for a year or two and, we have good instructors and access to that and everyone becomes a blue belt eventually.
Yeah. So tell us about, talking about that as blue belt, tell us about your beginnings, like what really got you into it. Was it like mid-90s? Like when was it? Like why? And,
so always like really like the martial arts, like horrible at sports, horrible like we discussed already, like couldn't play cricket, football, can't catch, can't throw, can't any of that, but really like martial arts for some reason. And then same as, a lot of people from my generation, like there was UFC 1, 2, and then 3. And so it was around like 94 when I started training. There wasn't jiu-jitsu proper in my city. There was a submission grappling club with Neil Bodycourt, knee and right. So Neil's passed away now. He fought in that first Australian UFC way back when. And then, so this is like 94, 95. And then Sean Kirkwood had a jiu-jitsu club at Rutherford, which is like an hour's drive from where I live. I used to drive there twice a week to train with him till he moved to Newcastle.
Okay, so like, can you talk about travel? Like you were in Newcastle, obviously it's not like back then, it wasn't much around. And then like, then first time you went to Brazil and sort of how that came about and like the whole experience of what you kind of learned from there.
Sure. So, but I was very lucky before we talk about travel. There was those people that had been there before me. So I wasn't like the trailblazer even in my city. There was other people like Neil and Ian and Sean who were the real like pioneers. But as soon as I was old enough, like first time I got on a plane, was to go to Brazil. Long haul travel, new to all that. This is before the internet. So the first time I went to Brazil was 97. So like a bunch of Australians had been there before me, obviously, but it was still like new for us. And this was before a lot of Brazilians had started moving up to America. So it was really like the who's who all still trained in Brazil. And like I said, before the internet, so how we had to find things was the Lonely Planet, was the book you could buy at like the bookstore, Angus and Rom. So you buy the book, and we found the hostel we were going to stay in the book called, send money orders. Before, like, it was a different world back then. Get to Brazil. The first night we get there, it's pitch black. And we're like, let's go out. And then all of a sudden we hear gunshots outside the hostel. And we're like, let's wait till tomorrow morning so we get the lay of the land. So it was very, it was an adventure, it was special times.
Yeah, cool. So like, tell about like your first experience, like with the Gracie family, especially like back then. That would have been, they're pretty deified family, I guess. And then even, especially Helio Gracie, like you met him, and then sort of back when he was alive, or like he was way different. Oh, not way different, but like the perception of him, I feel has changed over the years from before and after his death. Can you just talk about like what it was like? Because
sure. So first Gracie I met would have been Carlos Gracie Jr. He came to Australia in 95, did a seminar with him. And he brought out like Marcio Feitosa and Professor Gordo and that, so these legends of Jiu-Jitsu. That was awesome to train with. That was in Sydney. We visited Gracie Barra that first trip to Brazil. So I went to Brazil a couple of times before I met my wife Angela. Met Angela and got married at Purple Belt. So that's when I really started to train a lot more with Hoist, Hoyler, and those people. And then went back to Brazil several times with Andrew, and that's when I met Grandmaster Elio. She took me to his ranch, which is no longer there. The ranch is gone. Grandmaster Elio is gone, but the legacy lives on.
Oh, they've built these other propities up there, haven't they? I think
not sure. I haven't kept in touch. I know Donavera, his wife, moved to an apartment. So yeah, it was beautiful there. The ranch was absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear Professor talking about it a lot. So like with regards to Angela and the Gracie diet, you sort of following that at the moment? Like, what's your with your history with that? I'm sure you
depends who's asking you. If Oyster's watching this,
yeah, for sure.
Gracie diet, breakfast, lunch, and tea. I should know. My diet could be better. That's one of my vices. So Angela does follow it religiously. So whenever she cooks for me, it's Gracie diet. But sometimes I'm slack. I work full time, coach full time. So sometimes that's my excuse anyway. It's a little bit of a cop out, but I'll get some comfort food at the end of the day. And I had pizza today, so that was my foodie Sunday.
Yeah, fair enough. Can you talk about sort of like you started doing Kali a lot in recent years? Can you sort of talk about your experience of that compared to sort of Jiu-Jitsu and adding it in with the self-defense aspect?
Yep. So actually, I've been training about the same. So I started Arnis around the same time in the mid '90s. I was lucky one of my instructors was at the same grappling school, so I trained it the whole way through. Like Jiu-Jitsu is my passion, but I started Arnis way back then. It was 2008 where I met Ray Flora, who's my master now. And been training with Ray, so it's 12 years now. And try to get down there as often as I can. Not so much now in COVID, but it's a beautiful art. Like that's I haven't had any trouble in the street in a long time. But truth be told, like Arnis Kali is like comes before Jiu-Jitsu. So it's excellent for self-defense. And it's like Jiu-Jitsu, like Kali will blend beautifully with Kung Fu, karate, kickboxing, whatever. Same as like Jiu-Jitsu will go well with karate or Kung Fu. It's like because it sits on the end of kind of the ranges. So improvised weapons. Like if someone asks me, like, as a coach, the hardest questions I get asked is like, what do I do if the guy has a knife? What do I do if there's more than one person? And my first answer would be Kali. And I don't think Hoist would mind me saying that. Like Hoist will tell you he shoots better than he fights. Like if you break into his house, he's not going to be armbarring you. It's going to be looking at you through a scope. Yeah. So yeah, it's highly recommended, and like I said, and those combine so well with each other. It's amazing. So yeah, highly recommend anyone who trains jiu-jitsu, train Kali. If you train Kali, train jiu-jitsu.
Well, having said that, like with regards to sort of martial art, the term martial sort of like, I don't think it's Americanized version of sort of the gentle art, like martial arts is more about defense, but the martial aspects maybe has more defense and offense connotation. So like with regards to martial versus that, like versus the art, when's the time for martial versus art? Like the last 20 years, the art has been predominant with all the leg locks and everything else in jiu-jitsu, but like the martial arts just in general, but jiu-jitsu especially. But in terms of like the martial side, like, and we've had history like in China and all that, like when the Japanese were there with you see a lot of the movies of the occupations and that, and suppressing the martial arts there. And like now at the moment in Victoria, we can't even be near each other, let alone do jiu-jitsu. So we've got to learn a lot of the chi sort of jiu-jitsu sort of Hadouken kind of thing. Yeah. The Rona 1 punch 6 foot knockout. Yeah. But anyway, so just with regards to martial versus art, when's the time to be artful versus martial?
Yep. As you're asking that question, I'm trying to remember. There's Chris Houter has a really good saying. It's like train sport, think street, practice art. So if I've quoted that incorrectly, like Google it or whatever, it has a few really good like sayings. They're on the Wally's Academy in Canberra with Coach Mitch, and I think that's it. So I don't think you can have both of them at the same time. So it's the same old thing. The guys who say they train purely for the street probably. And they don't train sport grappling, probably can't do either. I think you need to be holistic. Like I've got a lot of work to do. I try and learn all the new leg lock stuff, but I still practice all the, like the Gracie self-defense. I try and do everything. I think that's my passion is like to learn all of it. And as a coach, like have some students who are a little bit more towards self-defense, especially people who do it for a living, like police and, security and military and stuff like that, just students in my academy. And then you have folks who want to compete and do that. So, I like to be able to at least get them started on that journey. And then in my academy, I have guys who, far better at leg locks than me, far better at self-defense than me and stuff like that. And that's a beautiful thing. Like they coach me back, so, very, very interesting. And, you talked about had jiu-jitsu started on the battlefield in Japan and Asia and stuff like that. But the same thing's still happening now. Like, it's very interesting. I was training with Paul Cale the other day. He's like one of the Australian Army instructors, and they're still bringing lessons from the battlefield in the Middle East and stuff like that, and bringing that back to jiu-jitsu. So that was some of the most interesting things I learned from him, like why they prefer certain positions, like side control over mount for the military compared to civilians like myself. And the pros and cons. So I think, and that's always what I say with my students. It's not better or worse or right or wrong. It's pros and cons. So there's one thing that's right for a soldier who's wearing kit and has weapons and stuff, and there's something like me who's maybe just dealing with someone who's got out of their car all angry, and I want to hold them down till the police come and arrest them or arrest us. So,
yeah, that's cool. I have to check that out. Like I say, it's a pretty cool. Yeah, like Professor's a bit the same. He's like because he's smaller. He's like, I don't want to be on mounts in the street. I'd rather be like a knee right or side. But it depends.
All depends how hairy the situation. There's kind of like there's control and restraint, and there's defensive tactics. If you're fighting for your life, I think mount for civilians like myself is fine.
Yeah, for sure. Haven't rolled for. It's probably been 5 months now. Since February, I think.
It's. I feel for you guys. It sucks because you never really got back to training, did you? You were about to get back to training. It went backwards.
No, we started the kids program back for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And then after the holidays, I think then they shut it down again, and it's like even worse now than before. So.
Yeah.
And it seems to be getting worse every day. And it's like, ooh, okay. But
yeah, and it could go that way here any minute now. So it's like
look to
stressful
Melbourne.
here. Like any day it could be like, I'm not sure. Like this whole thing, I've never been able to read it the whole way along. I thought it was a joke in February. Not a joke. It wasn't funny, but it was just I didn't think it was serious. And then we went from 0 to 100. All of a sudden, can't leave the house, can't train, and the worst thing is just like, especially that first lockdown, was not knowing when the end was going to be. Like, who knows?
Yeah, I just feel like there's goalposts changing. So it's like, you try to be a good citizen. You don't know what's going on, and you just don't hear anyone like owning up to any mistakes anymore, and it's a bit of a shame in today's society with all that sort of stuff. Because we've got the media, and it's like everyone's stuck at home, and you got like your wife has the Gracie diet, her book, and like a lot of that's helpful for. Diet is a major part of the immune system, like how to control and keep it going. So it's like, while we're all locked down and we know who's more vulnerable than the rest of us, it's I'm not sure where I was going to go with that. Kind of lost my track of thought, but she
helps my parents are obviously elderly, so Angela gives them suggestions. She's also done like a lot of courses in nutrition and vitamins and stuff, and she gives them recommendations so she can help people like that. So
well, it's just like
there's so much information out there. It's hard to know what the deal is.
Well, you'd like to think that within the last 100 years of medical research, there is something there are things in there that we've always known that can help with building the immune system, rather than doing things that we know actually hurts the immune system, like being locked down, being under stress, under cortisol. That raises or lowers your immunity, I guess. So it's just hard to know with when everyone's so scared to mention any kind of like immunity boosting thing, but there has to be something, and they just haven't they're not telling us that they're banning it. Like if you say vitamin C, if you say vitamins and minerals and diet, you can help boost your immunity. Like, why aren't they doing that? Like, that's the question I have. It's like we should be having why aren't we helping the elderly with daily advice like that? There's 100 years of research. If we can't trust in 100 years of medical research, then what was the point of it?
Yeah, it's hard to know. I really don't understand the whole dynamic. Like, I think the media has a lot to blame. I think the media has more to blame than the politicians sometimes. Like, I understand why they do what they do, but they've got to get clicks and stuff. But I think they've caused a lot more harm than good.
Yeah, that's sort of what I feel, and they've got everyone just yelling at each other, kind of thing, and like social media is a big part of it as well. But it's like everyone's sort of at each other's throats, and it's like whoa, that escalated quickly, like you said before. Like, we went from it's a bit of a don't know what's going on to full 100%. Then it's like after a while, it's almost like we've been under hypnosis with all the all the fear and the news.
Yeah, it's turned into every man for himself, every person for themselves, very quickly. And I'm just as guilty of that. Like, I just want to train. So like I was people would say I'm a conspiracy theorist who know me, but I'm like, I give up. If I'll wear a mask, I'll get the tattoo. As long as I keep training jiu-jitsu, I'll do whatever I have to do. Like, I just want to train after all this has been through. But you see people are fighting like cats and dogs kind of thing on, people, everyone's on edge, like yourself included. And it's very, very stressful times.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. It's almost like we're just hearing the extreme views on both sides, and there's no sensible people actually debating the views anymore. Like, I don't know, you remember the day they used to always debate and you hear both sides of the story, big long form debate, not like a 10-second vine grab, so, and it's like, yeah, what do you believe when it's like there's no one in in the sane middle anymore? It's kind of like everyone's like gone to their sides and stuff.
Yeah, There's some people. Some people are like, we have to lock down. We should lock down indefinitely. But I understand there's two sides to it. But I think a lot of those people have no skin in the game. There's people in the jiu-jitsu community who are saying we should lock down indefinitely. But a lot of those guys have profited from the lockdowns. So.
Yeah, well, you're incentivizing people to want to stay home and actually profiting. Not just like some people are getting paid more to stay home than to actually work, which that doesn't seem to be the way the world works to me. But it seems weird.
Yeah. It's hard. Like, I don't like to criticize. Like I've got problems, but they're like first world problems. Like I understand a lot of people are doing it a lot tougher than me. So
Well, what kind of solutions do you think, just in your opinion, that we can we're just talking opinions here, I guess. We're by no means medical or whatever experts, but just in your opinion, because I reckon like with staff, if people knew how bad that was and just one infection, that will be enough to ban jiu-jitsu forever. If that gets out on the news, if it's reported in the right way, it's like, oh, you can never do any kind of contact martial arts, even other sports, because of that.
Yeah. But I mean, staff is not a thing unique to jiu-jitsu. It's any time you have skin-on-skin contact. So staff is, as I understand it, common in some of the kung fu's where they do a lot of the sparring like this. It's like whenever your skin is chafing on skin. So, yeah, you're right though. Like, and again, I understand that's the whole reason the gi was invented, to help prevent some of this, like these diseases that humans carry on them, like anytime they come in close contact. But we've been doing it for a long time. With it's like a risk and reward. Everything we do in life has to be like a risk versus reward. We do a risk analysis and we see if the benefits outweigh the risks. And I think, in my opinion, I'm biased, of course, clearly for jiu-jitsu and the martial arts, they do, because you have just at a high level. So not talking about coronaviruses, like, I have, again, parents that I'm worried about and stuff like that. So I'm not heartless at all. I'm very concerned for them and other friends who, are not elderly, but at risk from it. But you can do kind of two things in the world. You say, I'm worried about dropping this remote control. What I can do is, like, this is the thing that's at risk. I can protect the remote control and put bubble wrap around the remote control. Or I can say, okay, no, everywhere else, room, outstairs, the front road, the road, I have to put bubble wrap everywhere else, and seems what they want to do right now is put bubble wrap everywhere.
Yeah, maybe. It seems that way, like, but I don't know, it's very confusing. But I just hope this doesn't like sort of spread sort of to you guys as well on north of the border. Hopefully this does end in a quicker rather than later. But
it'll be interesting. Like, if you and I talk in a few years' time and look back on this, I think it's an interesting period in time. And then what we'll say about 2020 in hindsight, it'll be fascinating, because this is like, again, I've led a very sheltered existence. I was born, good family, went to school, got a job, and I'm here. Nothing really traumatic's ever happened to me. And then this is like, and again, still first world problems, but this is the most historically significant thing that's happened to me personally in my life. The next closest would have been September 11, and that kind of changed the world and changed our day-to-day lives.
Well,
so
it is a first world problem, but it isn't. It's kind of like an old world problem. And the first world could easily become the third world. I've sort of seen it myself. Like certain countries in Europe, and like I've done a lot of travel. I've been in countries where the banks have collapsed, or they've taken all the money out of anyone that had more than a certain amount in the bank. And that's something they've signed over here kind of as well, just sort of, you know, in the backgrounds.
Yeah, I saw that in the news today. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, all these things that they're signing in, that it's like, wait a minute, it's not like many of these issues, like locking down, quarantine, like these things have been thought of in place, and it's not like this is new. Like we've known about these issues before, and it's just the way it's been handled has been annoying. But just want to, just with regards to sort of learning, and just change the topic a bit. How has jiu-jitsu helped you sort of in general life, and like with regards to teaching? Like, what have you learnt from teaching? What have you learnt from your students, and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. So, not really answer your question, but you talked about learning there. That my parents were huge on learning. Like one thing they drilled into me like the whole time growing up is like, you know, certain things will come and go, but when, you know, education is something that doesn't perish. You know, I mean, it stays with you for the rest of your life. You know, you earn the degree, you have that degree for the whole life. You earn the black belt, you have the black belt for the rest of your life. So my main thing is, and it's my hashtag, if you see, I have my little hashtag on Instagram. I'm learning about these things as a boomer, is always learning. So before lockdown, you know, pretty much every weekend or every second weekend, I was in Sydney at a seminar. I was actually getting quite burnt out doing it, you know, because again, work full time, teach full time, and then go down to Sydney. But for me, it was worth it because every second weekend you had some amazing learning opportunity. And anytime I didn't go, I'd always end up kicking myself like, man, I regret not going and learning that, you know, attending that seminar, or, you know, just going down and training with Ray, my coach, and stuff like that. So, and I think that, you know, I'd like to think I'm a good instructor. And I think that's one thing that helps me remain a good instructor is that, you know, I'm 100% coach, but I'm still 100% a student, you know, and really, I really enjoy learning new stuff and then, you know, developing and going back and sharing with my folks at the academy.
Yeah, any sort of concepts or tips that have stuck with you?
Jiu-Jitsu, you mean, like specifically in Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, like something that can be translated to life.
One thing that, like, this is my philosophy right now. So my dad gave me a book, Legacy. It's again, we're talking about sports before. It's written by the guy who followed around the All Blacks rugby team. And I've never watched a rugby game in my life, never. Mm-hmm. Okay, but this book was amazing. I bought a couple of copies and given them to friends around the world. And it's like the best self-help book ever. If everyone read a good book, Legacy. And it's like on the back page or whatever, it's like the prime directive of the All Blacks is to leave the jersey in a better place. You know, so when you finish the game, you finished your career, you've done something to contribute to the sport. And that's my goal. Is, you know, I haven't got there yet, but hopefully, you know, when I hang up the gi, I'll leave the gi in a better place. Like that's my goal. You know, if I could achieve, like, you know, Master Pedro, the Gracies, like, you know, of course I won't achieve that, but, you know, if it can just contribute a little, then, you know, that would be I consider it like a worthy goal. You know.
Well, you've sort of got the network there, and you teach your students, and then your students teach their students and their students, and then they come back, and like that's sort of like the professor's philosophy, and it's like go out and collect all the moves and come back and let's all work together, and you can still learn from a blue belt or a purple belt or a lower ranked belt. Even a white belt can teach you something. You know, they might see absolutely. One little thing that's you know, different.
Yep.
And a white belt.
You're talking about you're talking about life in general. Like I've other people. Like, this isn't something that I made up. I've heard other people say it eloquently, but like everyone on the mat is a black belt at something. Maybe not a black belt at jiu-jitsu, but this person's a black belt in diet. That person's a black belt at, you know, psychology, or black belt as anything you choose. You know, so you absolutely everyone on the mat is world class at something. You know, so if you just keep your eyes and ears open, you'll learn something for everyone. 100%.
Yeah, cool. And just with regards to your, obviously you've been doing this a while, so your body with injuries, like sort of being the Impaired Grappler podcast, I'd like to sort of just go through your sort of history of injuries and like what you've learned, and if there's any techniques out there that can maybe help anyone that you do or that you've actually done. Maybe you might not do it now, but like instead of I guess protocols of anything.
Yep. So everything's a little bit hurt, like a little bit. Like I feel like I'm in very good shape, like injury wise. Never had any severe injuries. No, I've had actually a surgery on my elbow and that a little while ago. But I've been very, very lucky. Like nothing traumatic, just a few things here and there. Like everything aches a little bit. I stretch a lot every day. Like I stretch from head to toe every day. In my day job, like I'm lucky that I've just like work at a cubicle. I can stand up, stretch this, do some work, stand up, stretch that. But I stretch everything from head to toe.
So how long do you do that?
Like how long do I hold a stretch for? Yeah, 20 seconds. I think it's just my goal at the end of the day is to have taken everything from my fingers to my toes to my neck to everything through its range of motion. I think it's a crime almost the way some people go through life. The whole day they'll stay like this and then they'll go to bed and they get up and they're like this. I should take every single thing just through its range of motion. And if I do that, then I'm okay. Doesn't have to be ballistic, doesn't have to be like some massive yoga stretch, but just through the range of motion and joint rotations has been helping me a lot. I did a seminar with Ricardo Laborio last year, and one of the other black belts there, Professor Eddie from BT1, was talking to me. He's an older black belt, but moves so well and looks half his age. And I was asking what his secret was, and he was talking about how as you age, it's not the muscles that are the problem, it's the joints. And so he does like joint rotations rather than just trying to lengthen the hamstrings and etc. And so since I've started doing like joint rotations and especially my hips and my shoulders, I feel it's helped me a lot. There's this CAR, controlled articular rotation. If you just like Google CAR, that's helped me a lot as well.
All right, cool. And do you do a cold or do you warm up first? Like, because I'm more a fan of more dynamic stretching than it's like, I don't really like the cold.
I don't warm up. I don't have time. Like I come straight from work to the academy, so the technique is my warm up. I probably will regret that maybe in the years to come. But I really and I'm always like, again, as I get older and older, I'm on the mat 6 days a week. Sometimes a couple of times a day, and I train the whole class. So I have to use my energy wisely. So if I do like a hard warm up, then I can't coach effectively towards the end of the night. So I not that I skip warm ups. The technique is the warm up.
Yeah. So like when you say range of motion, you sort of do it, but you're not doing it to fatigue yourself or.
Absolutely. Yeah. No fatigue. Just to go through the range of motion. It should almost be enjoyable, pleasant, therapeutic. So. I'll just turn as far to my left as I can, look up, look down. You have like the three range of motions up and left and right and laterally, just all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, well, I guess you're sort of warming up each of your, that's kind of a warm up of each, because you're not stressing it too much.
Yeah, it's a day long warm up. Yeah, you're right. When I get to the academy, I've stretched everything and I've identified, if I have a niggling injury. That's the problem when you have an injury you don't know about, like you've tweaked it the day before and then you roll hard and then, you tear through the rest of whatever it was. So,
yeah. So you're saying like you spread it out over a day to do each part or?
Yep. So maybe, between so I work from 6:30 till 3. So every 15 minutes I'll do a stretch or two and then just go back to my work, stretch the whole day. Rather than, because if I did all at once, it'd take like an hour or 2 hours, but just spread out over the day. Yeah.
All right. So you're doing like an hour or two worth of stretching a day, spread out throughout the day. Okay. No, that's fine.
Sir,
and I think the way you're doing it, you don't actually need to warm up because you're not.
Right.
Yeah. But if you were going under pressure, you'd probably injure yourself if you didn't warm up. If you did it under
Yeah.
under tension.
Yeah, when I roll, normally the first round or two, I do pretty light just to, again, just get you, that's my warm-up too. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough. Just with regards to all the great martial artists that you've met and the people over the years, have you noticed any similarities between them that you've... Yeah.
So let's talk about the Gracies and the Brazilians in particular. Yeah. I think the thing I've noticed with them, like the best friend you could ever have, okay, but and the last person you want to be on their bad side of, which I haven't, but I think it's a common thing. Like those, they're all the family, like amazing, like the most kind and welcoming people, like to me. But if the people come from the other side who come with an attitude, it's like you're in for a bad day.
Yeah, it seems like that. Yeah, like you see like when you meet a Gracie, they're like really they've got that stern look on their face. But then like if you meet them maybe at a seminar, then if you like meet them in person, like out for coffee or something, like they are so friendly. Like I think I came and met in your hotel room. I came and met you guys one day with Hoyce, and like at the seminars it's all serious, but then like when I met him in person, it's like, hey man, you want to take a photo? Hey, how are you going, brother? It's like, but like, sort of.
Yeah,
like
I think it's they take their teaching very seriously. So when they're there to teach, they're there to do their job kind of thing. So I get that.
Well, like you said before, like it's their legacy.
Yeah.
So like
so the mat's not a place to goof around kind of thing for a lot of them, and that's fair enough too.
Yeah, cool. So just we kind of touched on this, but is any routines pre-Rona that you've changed, or like during Rona and then like post-Rona that you're thinking about?
Just life in general, talking about?
Yeah, just in general, yeah, like that, like sort of daily routines, like you were talking about the stretching and that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to be less, more efficient and less wasteful with my time, so before the lockdown, like I complain about how busy I am because I work full-time, teach full-time, but I wasted a lot of time. And then we had the lockdown and I had all this time on my hands, but I actually got probably less done with all this time where I couldn't go to the academy because I just just watched YouTube and dumb stuff. So now that we're out of it and I'm kind of out of the doldrums, I'm trying to, make the most of the time that I have. Okay. And like before Rona, like every now and then I'd knock back a roll. I'll roll with you tomorrow, I'll roll with you next week. But now I don't know, maybe I won't be allowed to roll tomorrow. So I'll take every opportunity I can on the mat and that kind of thing, and be more grateful for those opportunities.
Yeah, I definitely feel that down here, not being able to roll at all. It's pretty tough, but that's all right. Like that's my like physical therapy, mental therapy, and like I guess with everyone. But it's good that you guys are still able to roll and train up there. But yeah, so anyway, we'll just leave it there. I just want to ask one final question.
Sure.
I've asked this for a lot of people before, but how have you found ordering chaos in your life? I guess that might be way different pre and post Rona, but like maybe like any life lessons from something that you've experienced in the past where you've gotten through something pre-Rona that's maybe even helped you during the Rona.
Yeah, I don't deal well with chaos at all. I need order in my life. I don't think anyone who does jiu-jitsu is normal. I'm not a normal person, and I think again, like I work and I teach, I think because I need that structure. Like my day, pretty much every day is the same, and I didn't handle it at all well during Corona. Like it really knocked me around, like in a lot of ways. So I think I always thought I was a humble person, but I realized, like, through Corona, I really had no idea about how the world works, and I thought, I thought I knew how things work, but it really set me on my bum, this whole thing, and made me like revisit my whole perspective on life, and we talk about jiu-jitsu and family, and I was never paying it lip service, but I never realized until the Corona, like, how much my students and my friends are my family. Like I help some, and a lot of them, helped me get through it. In you wouldn't imagine how much support I needed and how much support I got. So I'm really, again, changed my whole perspective on everything. I look at the world with different eyes now. I think it's going to make me a better. I was saying this to my students. I think it's going to make me a better coach, a better son, brother, family, friend. Hopefully learn from these misfortunes. Hopefully something good will come out of all this bad.
Yeah, it's I think you can learn a lot of hard truths about yourself, and like you said, it's very humbling, and you sort of get to see sort of some of the negative aspects of yourself, and hopefully you can improve on that and
absolutely
move forward and like learn, and just like the thing is, like, people aren't honest with themselves, so you just sort of need to be honest with yourself, and like
absolutely,
we've all got our own self-image, and I think a lot of the social media is making that like way worse these days. So
yeah, that's a good way to put it. My self-image was shattered by this whole thing, even though I thought, like, I still believe I'm a good person, but it just, like, man, just knocked me for six.
Yeah, well, and don't take things for granted. Coming from Victoria.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Thanks for coming along. Thanks for doing this.
No, thanks for the opportunity. Like I said, first interview ever. So hopefully I didn't make too many goofs or anything like that. So
no, it was all good.
Very, very good questions. I appreciate the time and the conversation. Very insightful. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Not sure if they were the best questions, but hopefully I got some good answers out of you. That was pretty cool. But anyway, all right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time. Oos.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Alrighty, guys. I hope you enjoyed that podcast with Luke. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting conversation. I really enjoyed it. So hope you guys did too and took something away from it, even if it was only just the audio and stuff up the video. So the technical difficulties for the video were basically because, well, I've got all this equipment set up. My cameras, capture cards, and the audio device, the monitors, and OBS, using OBS and Zoom. Had everything going, everything recorded, but I just forgot to press record on Zoom. I thought I did. I thought it was recording, but yeah, it didn't record. So it's sort of stuffed up the video on that, but that's all right. We'll live and learn, and hopefully you still took something from it. Yeah, so be sure to check out Luke's school if you're ever in Newcastle. Be sure to check out Angela's book if you're interested in the Gracie diet. There's some cool recipes in there. Check the links and everything in the description. So apologies again. Hopefully you still enjoyed. So follow, like, subscribe, share, comment down below. And yeah, we'll catch you next time. Peace.